Germany has officially acknowledged for the first time that it carried out a genocide in Namibia during its colonial rule at the turn of the 20th century. Tens of thousands of people from two ethnic groups, the Herero and Nama communities, were killed, tortured and driven into the desert when they rose up against colonial rule. The German government has issued a formal apology to the African nation and agreed to provide $1 billion in aid. But, as Andrew Chappell now reports, that doesn't go far enough for the indigenous people and the victims' descendants.
As their land and cattle were being taken from them, the Herero people took a stand against their German colonizers at the start of the 20th century. What came next still haunts their descendants more than a century later. Between 1904 and 1908, the Germans tried to exterminate the Nama and Herero people, executing thousands and driving other tribes' people into the desert. Survivors were used as slave labor in concentration camps. Around 100,000 people were killed in this genocide. Germany has finally accepted responsibility.
We
will now officially call these events what they were from today's perspective: a genocide. In doing so, we are also acknowledging our historical responsibility. In the light of Germany's historical and moral responsibility, we will ask Namibia and the descendants of the victims for forgiveness.
Berlin's agreed to provide $1.3 billion in the next 3 decades in the form of development projects. Some Herero call it a betrayal of their ancestors because the deal did not include a direct payment of compensation.
This had nothing to do with reparation. They call it not reparation, but reconciliation. So this is a kind of a new art of development aid. And development aid goes to this government. And this government of Namibia, as we know, is a corrupt government, and this money will never reach the Nama and the Herero people, especially the dissidents of these two nations. That's why we say no to this reconciliation. We want reparation. We want to talk directly to the German government.
Half of the Nama people and 80% of the Herero were killed. Much of Namibia's arable land is still owned by descendants of German settlers. Some could stand to benefit from the announcement, as money will be allocated for land purchases and vocational training. Namibia's government says the move is a step in the right direction. To heal, we have to learn to live with the scars. But for descendants of those who were either killed or marched into the Kalahari Desert to starve to death, it's a wound that may never heal.